The easiest commodity in baseball to find right now is what? Velocity. It is so easy to find guys that throw hard. Everybody has guys that throw hard, right? But can you give me the boop, 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 boop?
Let's get to some injury news, and we're going to bring in Will Sammon from The Athletic, joining us right now on FT Live, right from the jump here. Will, we appreciate the time and the quick hop on because news out of Mets camp sucks. Kodai Senga is hurt and not going to start the year on the opening day roster. So what's going on down there?
Yeah, it's the day to be on with you guys, right? But Kodai Senga has a moderate strain in the back of his right shoulder. So David Stearns told us today from Mets camp that Kodai will be starting the year on the injured list. So he will miss opening day. But David Stearns did add that he still expects Kodai to make a bunch of starts for the Mets. I don't know how many that necessarily means, but that's what David Stearns said, which leads me to think that maybe they can get over this within maybe a couple of weeks span or a month span, but that's unclear. That's speculation on my part. The news is that he's going to start the year on the injured list. He's not going to be pitching for the Mets on opening day, and it's huge. It's significant because this is the Mets' top starter.
Did they specify what moderate is? Because it's normally in like a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 strain.
They did not say they did not label it with a grade. However, a lot of times we'll hear, as you guys know, about a capsule injury, right? And a lot of times it's bad news if it's the front, the capsule. In Senga's example here, from what we've been told, it's the back, which it's not great news, but it's better than when it would be if it was the front. So that's the only real information that we got as far as severity goes. Kodai spoke to us as well. He said that he did not necessarily feel much pain, and it was more of like a fatigue that he felt. He first reported it really right away, like after his first bullpen session here in Port St. Lucie. And then the other day, he had to throw another side session and then experienced a little bit more fatigue after that one. So that was the second time around. So yesterday he reported to the Mets, hey, this is not getting better. And that's when they've decided to shut him down.
Okay, I'll grade it for you. It's an F if he's out for any length of time on this Mets team. I mean, that's the grade. It's an F because this fucking sucks that he's going to be out if you're a Mets fan or a baseball fan, because he's the second half of the year, he was one of the best pitchers going once he figured out kind of road and limited the walk. So this sucks. But does this mean that, there's still a couple kind of big name free agents out there? Would the Mets possibly jump in? Stevie Cohen, he's not afraid to throw some money around. Would they possibly jump in on Montgomery or Snell?
I've been told no. I don't see that happening right now. I actually asked David Stearns that very question, AJ, right during that press conference, if the likelihood has changed at all, given this injury. And he said, no, it really hasn't. They expect to do what they've been doing here and go with what they got. And now my question has been after that, well, does that even mean, what about like depth guys? If that's not necessarily going to mean Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery, what about a guy, because you have to backfill this with, if it's Tyler McGill, for example, who's going to assume this spot that Kodai Senga once had here. What happens there as far as a backfill or a trickle-down effect? And even on that end, I don't really necessarily expect that to change right away, meaning I don't expect them to really add anybody right away. We'll see how things play out. I think if they have another injury, maybe things can change a little bit. But for right now, the news here does not really mean that they're going to go with Snell or Montgomery, and it means more information for McGill and other guys on their list of depth.
So, Will, I know Stearns also mentioned that he thinks this is a playoff team. Have you guys followed up with him on why he thinks that's the case, given the change of the roster from last year to this year? I don't think many people can make a case that it's a better looking team, especially in the category that we're talking about with starting pitching. I like Severino, by the way. I think he's going to bounce back a little bit this year, but I don't think anyone's looking at that rotation thinking, wow, this can compete with the Braves or the Phillies.
No. And yeah, I've asked David Stearns sort of to drill down a little bit more on that expectation question. And he's what I thought has been pretty real about expectations. I mean, look, he's not the only one that says that the Mets could compete for a playoff spot. I believe the Pagoda rankings came out and they suggested similar. That was before, of course, Kodai Senga had this injury, so we'll see. But I'm with you. I think that their rotation, for example, has some question marks. I think that there's a a pretty good floor there with some of those guys, whether it's Sean Manaea or Adrian Hauser. Like those guys could give you X amount of innings at probably a pretty solid level, but we're talking more middle of the rotation, back of the rotation type guys. And then Severino is just a real wild card. He could be boom or bust here for the Mets, and we just don't really know because the last few years haven't gone right for him, of course, with injuries, and then last year injuries plus poor performance. So it's a big question mark as far as why he would say that it was a playoff caliber team. Well, I think he looks at the roster and looks at guys like Jeff McNeil and Starling Marte, and maybe they can get better contributions from those guys, along with all-stars like Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo as well. So they feel like they have that. But in my opinion, it's going to come down to what they can get from their starting rotation. Plus, they're going to have to get contributions from their young players, whether that's more from Francisco Alvarez, but definitely stuff from third base with Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos to blend in with those guys who also, in some cases, need to bounce back, and in some cases, need to do some heavy lifting in the lineup.
Okay, two quick ones before we let you go, because I know you have a big date in the clubhouse in there. One, did you see the fake reports that Alvarez signed an extension? Why haven't they done that? And then two, does this mean Jose Quintana is the opening day starter?
Yeah, so no date for me in the clubhouse, unfortunately. My girlfriend's back home in New York, so. Opening day starter, great question. I'm looking forward to asking Carlos Mendoza that. I mean, it could be Luis Severino, right? I mean, we're talking about him. He profiles as a frontline guy. I like Quintana. If it was up to me, I'd probably go Quintana, actually. I mean, he pitched well when he came back from the injury that he had last year. And he returns as really like their only returning starter, I guess, right? Yeah. Unless you include the guy who will assume Senga's spot, McGill, probably. But yeah, so I did see that report, AJ, and I reported on it as well, but I can't say that that's true. I was told that was not the case. There was no extension, and there's a reason for that, in my opinion, and through my reporting, and that's because, like with free agency, if the Mets were to add somebody or change somebody's contract, they're going to face a 110% tax on that. And so like the number for Francisco Alvarez's salary would be the new number, whatever it would be, plus that, times that 110%. So that's significant. This is not something that's minor here for this team. So I would expect if there was an extension to go down for Francisco Alvarez, it would be some time after the season starts, where they can look at the payroll for next year or years after that.
It makes sense. Yeah, right now they're being punished, basically. That's what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. One of the few teams that spends at that level. So, Will, thank you for the time. Appreciate it. And everyone follow Will at Will Sammon, his name. Very simple. And check out some of his articles in The Athletic. You do a great job, Will. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Will Sammon on the Mets. And that sucks. I mean, that's their dude. I mean, he's a Cy Young contender if he's pitching. And they had already talked, I think, a week or so ago about the plan for him, because last year they gave him an extra rest almost every time. And I was fine with that. I'm like, whatever you did last year, if you produce that for 4 more seasons under team control, I mean, he was pitching like a 1, especially in the second half of the year. And Kratz, without him, they don't have a chance. I mean, they need 25 plus starts from this guy.
Absolutely. But my thing is about the whole inning thing, and we're always going to get to this. It's always going to be about the innings. Sometimes your arm just might be fatigued. But as it's always about the innings, I did a little research. And the last 5 years, this is the innings he had. 143, 84, 120, 178. That was in 2019, 139. Okay? So he eclipsed all of that. 2019, he had 178 innings. He had 166 last year. He never made more than 26 starts, and that was in 2019. His starts have been 22, 13, 18, and 22 in his career. Last year, he had 29. So to me, this is less about his workload and more about when these guys come from Japan, they're already minimizing their workload. You got to kind of start figuring that in. You need a 6th starter because they're skipping a start here and there, and it really makes you spend a lot more on your rotation.
Yeah, we discussed this with Shohei. We talked when Joe Madden. We had Joe Madden on. He's like, it presents more problems because you have to have a 6th starter because they can't pitch on the 5 days. My thing is gosh, 100. What do you say? 166 innings last year, Eric? I mean, remember when like 200 was like, oh, okay. And then remember, not that long. It wasn't that long ago where 300 innings was like, okay, this guy's good. And then it dropped down to 200. And now we're almost like, man, if this guy pitches 5 times this year, he's really good. Like, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's like unbelievable how it keeps going down and injuries keep going up.
Yes, thank you.
That's what's crazy is the more we try to protect guys, the more the injuries go up. Maybe we should throw more.
Just try it.
I don't know.
Just try it.
I'm waiting. We've talked about this when, and I think we've talked about this off the air, and I've talked about this with some people. I'm waiting for an organization to just be like, I'm going back to the old school way. Who's going to be, you know what? Be like, you know what? I just signed a 5-year deal as a new GM, and I have 5 years, and I have the owner's ear, and he says, go for it. And you kind of go back to a little bit more the old school way.
What's the old school way?
Your starters in the minor leagues try to go deep into games, and your starting pitchers in the big leagues try to go deep into games. And that's what I mean. Someone's going to try it. And see, not instead of piggybacking, right, in the minor leagues, and, oh, this guy goes 5, this guy goes 4. Like, because, Kratz, I'm sure it was the same with you. Like, when you were in the minor leagues, like, you had your 5 starters. They would try to go as deep as they can. You had a 7th-inning guy, an 8th-inning guy, a closer guy, right? And you played it like a normal game. Now it's like, oh, well, this guy goes 4, and he throws 60 pitches. Then we got to get him out because we need the next guy to go 5. And, you know, it's like, okay, well, what? I just want to – I don't know that it'll happen, but I would just love to see some team go, you know what, we're going to just try it.
Can you assemble enough of a rotation, though, to handle third time through and actually execute third time through? Like Senga actually was one of those guys, but do you trust anyone else?
Well, that's where it has to start at the minor leagues. You have to develop it in the minor leagues and say, hey, we're going to teach you when you're a little bit tired, get through the third time. Maybe you don't use all your pitches in the first inning. Like don't go first pitch heater, out, right? First pitch curveball, second pitch curveball, third pitch split. Okay, now everybody's seen everything. I don't know. We used to try to run through lineups with one pitch. I remember when John Garland was throwing sinkers, I'd be like, listen, until someone figures it out, we're throwing sinkers.
But how many guys can do that nowadays?
I think there's more than what we give them credit for, but they're just not taught to do that at any level in baseball. It's give me as much as you can. Even in my son's travel ball, right? They're like, give me 3 innings. And you're like, oh, he went 3 whole innings. His innings max this summer is 30. And you're like, he's 16 years old. He should be able to throw a lot more than that, right? But everybody's hunting velocity. So every pitch is max effort.
Because velocity matters so much.
I understand that. But I'm saying, you know, Greg Maddux, right? I mean, there's a million. Jamie Moyer pitched for 25 years.
All these guys are so far out of the game, and they're so few and far in between. I'm just presenting the other side.
I understand. Listen, yeah. I'm not saying one way or the other is going to work, but I'm just saying there's going to be somebody who's going to break from the mold of what's happening and say, you know what? I'm going to try and draft guys that can be durable. They might not throw 95. They might throw 91, but they can go boop, 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 curveball, changeup, boop, 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 and give me 7 innings. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe it won't ever happen, but I just think I'd love to see someone try it, just to see it.
I would encourage an organization to say, and this is all in the organization, because players and coaches and travel team kids are always going to they're going to gravitate to what is cool, what is needed. And the organization has to say, I know you throw 99. See, I don't think they need to draft guys who throw 91. That's not going to play. I need an organization to say, I know you throw 99. I want you to sit 92, 94, a la Justin Verlander. Oh, I need 99. Here it comes. See ya. 92, 94. That's going to develop that location. It's going to develop where you're at while staying healthy. 99. Now you make it into the 7th inning, your 3rd time through. Hey, you want to unload the tank? Get after it. We'll see you in 5 days.
I don't know. I agree with what Kratz just said. I mean, but I don't know. I don't know that it'll ever happen again because of all the data and all the analytics.
There's value there.
But also, Kratz, the other problem is who does every team say they want to be like?
The Rays.
And what do the Rays do?
Not that.
Exactly. So, but because you know why? Because they're looking at arms, and arms are expendable to them. They're like, oh,
yes,
whoop, blew out. Next, whoop, yes. Blew out.
Well,
next.
And also the arms that are best are the young league minimum ones. Yep. And then when they get expensive, they don't have them anyway. So why care? You know,
I agree.
It's actually a good business plan on their end. It's not good for the individual if you're a young player in that system, right? I mean, almost all of their homegrown players have gone under the knife.
I don't know of one that hasn't. Can you think of one that hasn't?
Nope.
Maybe Archer?
Yeah, and then he eventually broke down.
But he didn't in Tampa, right? But all of McClanahan, I mean, all the guys that I can think of have all gotten.
Look at their IL right now, and just look at the last few years. I mean, obviously they're a great org, but there is a specific game plan there for their pitching, and it has led to, in my mind, more injuries than most other organizations.
There is a market inefficiency in that sense. There's no bigger loss in baseball than time spent on the IL. But they have all this stuff going on, medical things that say, well, history says this and history says that. It's going to take a team, because they're trying it. They want to spend less time on the IL, but once the season comes, they just want to win games. So that's why that's where it's going to need to change, like AJ said, in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take somebody that's a GM or a president of baseball ops to say, we're going to try something different. And you know what? It might not work, but someone eventually, it's like everything kind of goes around like in circles, like everything in fashion in the world, everything kind of is cyclical of like things, right? There's going to be a GM who's going to get a job and he's going to be like, you know what? I don't care. And I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And I'm going to try it. And it might not happen but listen, I want to see it, because I think it'd be interesting. I think it would be an interesting science experiment to see if you could do it, because I'll tell you what, if you talk to any scout, and I think Kraft's can agree with me this, I see a lot of high school games, and I pay attention to a lot of college and everything. The easiest commodity in baseball to find right now is what? Velocity. It is so easy to find guys that throw hard. Everybody has guys that throw hard, right? But can you give me the boop, 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 boop?
But if you don't throw hard, you have a disadvantage. I mean,
do you, though?
You're not getting looked at.
You're not getting
That's
looked
what I'm
at,
saying. It's going to take a team to figure it out.
Yeah, but also when you throw that hard, you can get away with mistakes a little easier, correct? I mean, you tell me, you're the hitter.
No, it's the easy way. It's like having a line of 5 girls that you want to date. You pick the best looking one. Doesn't mean she's the one that you want to get married to. You're picking the best looking one. That's what they're doing in baseball. They have 5 guys lined up. One throws 100, they're picking him. They don't even need to see him throw. They don't, if they have a legitimate source saying he threw 100, okay, great. So to me, it's the easy way out. You got to get to know these guys. Watch how they throw. How do hitters swing against them? And some scouts will say, oh, it's tough. He's in the ACC, or this guy's in the the American East Conference, or this guy's in the SEC, so he's much better. But the reality is they're taking the easy way out by everybody just developing velocity, and people that never played are able to develop velocity, so it's more prevalent.
So basically, GMs are looking at pitchers and saying, 99, he's hot.
Yep. Basically, that's what Scott does when he goes to these dance festivals. He's like, she's got a glow stick. Yes. She's got a glow stick. Yes.
I don't know how we got there.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.